Hello and welcome to another episode of Mysteries with a History, where I'll take you on a wild ride into the unknown, the strange, and the mysterious. Like you, I have questions, and like you, I want answers. First, I want to say hi to some people in the live chat: Jessica, Dan, Michael, Stefan, Will, Hides. How is everyone doing today? It seems like a lot of countries and states in the USA have their own special mysteries, legends, and UFO stories. We've covered many of them here on this show. Now, when people first think of Arizona, crazy hot temperatures and endless deserts come to mind, along with ghost towns and places where famous gun battles took place. Oh, and of course, the case of the abduction of Travis Walton and the Phoenix Lights. But there's so much more to the state than I could have imagined. There are stories of UFO crashes, of haunted forests and hotels, creepy ranches similar to Skinwalker Ranch, the legends of the Navajo, Hopi, and many other First Nation tribes, and so much more. There's a lot to cover in a short time. So, to help me with the show, let me bring in my co host, Jimmy Church of Faded Black Radio. Jimmy, how are you? Can you hear me? How are you doing, Jimmy?
I was showing off my shirt, man.
The snazzy shirt. You know what?
I have a haberdasher. I have a haberdasher that I go to for my custom bespoke t-shirts.
Well, I like that shirt in particular. And Jessica, thank you so much. Jimmy, ask me what I'm drinking. Ask me what I'm drinking. Please ask me.
Ask me. What you drinking there, kid?
I'm drinking Fade Black Blend because I like my coffee. It's dark. Wow, that sounded really bad. It sounded a lot better in here. It did not sound good.
I know. You got to take out the R. You got to drop the R. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, see, it just doesn't sound as good as you. I just sound like I'm making myself cringe.
Yeah,
but that's okay. It still tastes delicious.
Yeah, my coffee's brewing. I don't get it to the break, so I got to parry the first half of the show today. So yeah, Faded Black Blend. It's a game changer, isn't it?
Oh, tell me about it. It tastes so good. I did add some creamer. I added some caramel macchiato Starbucks creamer, the best creamer on the planet, in my opinion.
Yes.
And it made that coffee taste amazing. Keith, thank you so much for the super sticker. As Pablo says, Doc.
Man, why do you look so... You look so good today. Do you have different lighting?
Thank you. I showered.
No. Shower, that's good. Once a week, that's my rule. At
there
least
you go.
Once a week. Whether it's just jump out into the bird bath, outside, hose yourself down, at least get water on your face once a week. And I think that's a pretty good thing to do. I shaved today.
Nice. Yeah. I did as well. My bigote right here. All right, let's get into today's show.
So I can see that you're in a good mood.
It's the coffee. Give me some energy.
Yeah, that will give you some energy. Yesterday, everybody, it's like I'm checking in on Christina's mood. We talked briefly yesterday, and I was in the middle of a high-stress phone conversation. She texted me back, man.
You okay?
Oh, man, I was like, it was just so funny. When you're in it, and it doesn't matter who, you're talking to somebody about something and it's business or whatever related, and you're in that thing, and then you switch over in a phone call and you go from that to happy, you're still in the, and people can tell, man. People can tell, you all right? And you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I'm fine. What's the problem?
So it makes you more angry when someone asks you, are you okay? And you're like, I'm fine. They're like, are you sure? They're like, yes.
So before we get started today, it's another great show, great topic, Mysteries of Arizona. And there's so many things. I've got some fun things to share about Arizona as well. But what a great week, right? Now, you've been at this UFO
Cheers to
thing.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers to that. You've been at this UFO thing and questioning people and chasing down these mysteries and trying to shift that paradigm. Um, and and I'm being serious. That's not a play on words. How you feeling now that we're almost 3 days in now since the UFO hearing? How you feeling about that?
So, waiting up for the UAP hearing, I was incredibly enthusiastic. I was pretty happy, but I had very, very low expectations. Many of us watched it. Many people thought it was a nothing burger. Others thought it was a rather good hearing. And then you have the aftermath. Everyone's talking about it. What did you think? What happened? Things of that nature. So overall, it just shows me to be more pumped for the future, and I believe that so many doors have opened because of this hearing, and the conversation is now being elevated for real. So we're having congressmen taking this seriously to the point where they wanted to have a hearing on it. And while there was a lot of when people would ask questions, it was much brushed off by Bray and Moultrie. At least it was being asked. And then we had Gallagher, who was the star of the show, man. He
Yeah.
was dropping name bombs. He was doing a fantastic job. He really did seem informed compared to a few other congressmen. But we do need to keep in mind that while we all want this hearing to happen, and it did, it wasn't directed towards the UFO community, those that are already so knowledgeable in the topic. This is
Sure.
really for the government, for the congressmen, and for those that just aren't familiar with it. So for us, it could have been rather disappointing watching this and being like pulling out our hair. But for your average Joe, it was something to look forward to and something to even learn about. So overall, I was pleased with it. But what about you, Jimmy?
Yeah, I feel the same way. And what I enjoy, it's like this: people are going to see what they're going to see. They're going to perceive and extrapolate what they're going to do. And I'm different than you, and from and everybody else, and you have expectations, whatever they are. Maybe some people's expectations is that they want crap, they want darkness, they want a presentation from the military side. Is this Russian? Is this Chinese? And what are you doing to all the way to the other end of the spectrum, which is UFOs and ETs and visitation. Then you have the science side. Is this a natural phenomena? Is this something else that can be explained? There's all of these different views. People are going to have their own way of looking at it, and when they do, they're going to hear what they want to hear.
That's
Right.
right.
And they don't necessarily even, if you don't know Malmstrom or care about UFOs, and Wilson Davis, that stuff just blew over people. They didn't
Oh,
get it. Richard Dolan, I guarantee you went, what? Right. So and there's that part. Now for my overall take though, my highlight wasn't Gallagher. Gallagher dropped all the right words. There's no doubt about it, man. He caught me. I snapped to attention
Me too.
for sure. But it was Representative Welch.
I thought you were
Uh,
gonna say bruschetta.
what's that?
I thought you were gonna say bruschetta when
Oh,
after
Burchett.
the
Yeah, Burchett after. Okay, I'm going to circle back to Burchett. But Representative Welch, he, absolutely tried to steer the whole thing back to what everybody was thinking about, and that includes Bray and Moultrie, which is ET. That's what we're here to talk about.
Mhm.
You may not want to talk about it, but you're thinking about it, and you know that we want to talk about it. The rest of the world wants to know about ET. They don't want to know about the tic-tacking and the invasion of training exercise area off the Pacific Ocean. They don't give a crap about that. Nobody does. We want to know about ET, and that's what Wells said. And when he got that reaction, right? That lean back and the dance. He said, okay, are we going to talk about it in the classified briefing? When we get to the classified portion of this, are you going to talk to me about extraterrestrials visiting this planet? And I was like, whoa, man, Che Guevara, right? Wow, that was strong. And that is what is on everybody's mind. We can beat around the bush all day long and talk about security and Navy pilots and our airspace and what the military is there for, keeping us safe. Yeah, we can talk about that. That's fine, but that's not what this hearing was about. We want to know about the UFOs, man. We want to know about ET and what is visiting our planet. And it was extraordinary for me. So, yeah, you and I kind of had two different moments, and I agree with you about Gallagher, but it was Representative Welsh. Now, let's get to Burchett. All right, so you mentioned Nothing Burger. Nothing Burger is a cop-out. Anybody that tweeted or texted or commented or posted it was a big Nothing Burger, it's weak. It's weak. That's not saying anything, right? Be specific about the specifics, but you can't say that, it didn't drive well, it didn't taste good. Well, what do you mean, right? Okay, so you can't say a Nothing Burger. That's a cop out. So because it wasn't a Nothing Burger, and to have the reaction from Burchett and others too as well, it wasn't just Burchett. Burchett was just caught on tape. Burchett's reaction was the correct one. And what do I mean? What I am saying here is nobody in that position will come back after that, no matter what you're talking about, and say, it was perfect. We don't need to do this again. No. It's got to be the opposite. You need to have the reaction like Burchett, where you're like, you know what? We got to get to the bottom of this cover up. We got to keep this moving forward. We got to do that. That's what you need so you can have additional hearings, so you can bring forward other witnesses. Let's see some other videotape. Let's get you to push this forward. That's Burchett's reaction. Burchett's reaction wasn't, this is crap and we should never do this again. That's not what he said, and that's not what he suggested. You need to have that reaction. You need to have that reaction from Chris Mellon. You need to have that reaction from Lou Elizondo. You need to have that reaction from the public. You need to have that reaction for the members of the committee, not only in the House, but also in the Senate, who are going to also do the same thing in the future too as well. You need to have that. We need more. We need more. This wasn't good enough. We need more. And I applaud Burchett for his attitude and for his words. We need to have that. It would have been so depressing for the world, not only the UFO community, but for the world to have somebody like Burchett in that position to have the opposite reaction, because then there's nowhere else to go, right? There's nowhere else to go. So, yeah, it was excellent. It was an excellent week. Nothing Burger. Everybody right now can thank their lucky stars. I've been in a cocky mood all week, and I've almost responded. I've almost responded to anybody with Nothing Burger and just gone straight at them. But here's the thing with that. They want that. That's their little moment of fame where they can go, man, I got church to react to my Nothing Burger. And he said, and that's why it's done. It's done for a reaction out of me. But I almost did. I was in a mood all week on Twitter, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a good thing I had Instagram to go and post pictures about guitars. And maybe I'll start an Instagram cat video channel, start posting videos of cats, because it's an escape from when when I just start to get fired up. It was great.
Without a doubt. It was fantastic. And we're going to add so much more extra flavor to the week with today's show. Also hides. Thank you so much for the super sticker. You're so kind.
Smart,
so let's
energetic, charming, great delivery. Has MUFON offered Cristina a job yet? She's too good for MUFON.
It's the River Moon coffee.
Yeah,
okay.
Good for MUFON.
So
I love MUFON. Don't save all your comments. MUFON's great. So anyway, there's
so
symposiums coming up, by the way.
so let's get into the first account and kind of one that's been my favorite to look at. So I wanted to start off with one of my favorites, and maybe one that people aren't too familiar with. And that is the curse of the Petrified Forest in
Show those
Arizona.
pictures. Look at that.
I know this is beautiful. So why is this significant? Well, I'm going to tell you that right now. So while thousands of visitors each year leave the park with a piece of stolen petrified wood hidden within their belongings, which
Yep.
is illegal, many of them wind up returning what they stole later on. And over the years, the Petrified Forest has received hundreds of letters from past park guests that include not only the piece of wood they removed, but also a letter of explanation. So, both the letters and stolen pieces of wood are so common at the park these days that park officials keep a stack of them, and it's called the conscious pile. So, let's talk about actually how these beautiful pieces of wood were created. So, Arizona's petrified forest formed nearly 200 million years ago when fallen logs washed into a river system and were buried by sediment and other debris, isolating the logs from oxygen and slowly the decaying process over the centuries. So the porous wood would slowly absorb various minerals, including silica from volcanic ash, while crystallized over thousands of years, replacing the organic matter as it broke down. And eventually, the logs and branches were transformed into these colorful pieces of nearly solid quartz. Look at that.
It's
So
incredible.
it is
It's
stunning.
stunning. It's rock, right? It's granite, and it's unbelievable. Okay, we're gonna get into the curse, and I have been there, and I have not picked anything up, but this is the story that goes over and over again. This is the story. Honey, where are you going? I'll be back in 3 days. Why? What's going on? I'm driving this back to the Petrified Forest. I'm done. I'm done. Right? And this is it. The curse of the Petrified Forest, and it's so beautiful. And you can't,
like you want to take it home.
Yeah, you cannot help yourself. And who wouldn't? I have seen this personally. And when you pick up something like that looks like a slice of a log,
Mm-hmm.
it does. It's bark. It looks like wood, but it's granite, and it's big, it's small, it's all over the place, and you can't help yourself. You're like, man, yeah, I'll take a piece of this with me. Well,
I would not recommend it, and we're going to explain exactly what happens. But first off,
okay, go ahead with the first off.
Michael, thank you. And Michael also thank you and says, I don't know if you both realize how important you are to having this topic to be taken seriously. Fantastic show. And if it wasn't for the distance between us, I would love to send you some British chocolate to go with that coffee. Can't name the brand. Coffee, I mean, look, chocolate, coffee, biscuits, can't go wrong. All of the above. I like crunchy bars.
Together. They go together. You know what I do? I'm going to say it right there, Huggins. British shortbread cookies.
Ooh.
With coffee. Oh my God.
That does sound good.
It's like you're being kissed by the baby Jesus. Okay. All right.
So let's get into this. So this forest It was first found by Western explorers, and they documented this ancient stone forest in the 19th century. And then in 1906, the park was formally established as a national monument to protect the area from human development and destruction. Okay, though the park's creation has generally been a great success at protecting its very unique landscape. Over the centuries since its founding, a small minority of visitors have continued to steal specimen from the park. I'm going to let you do the fun part. What happens if you take a piece from this cursed forest?
Yeah, and well, the answer is
Everything.
everything.
Everything bad.
Everything bad. Anything that throughout your day that can go wrong goes wrong.
Mhm.
And to the point where, honey, I'll be back in 3 days. I am, and now I want to. I did this for everybody. Let me share this really quick. Uh,
Mhm.
what is that? That's the wrong screen. Share mine.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, there it is. Look, is that the most stunning thing you have? And it's just like this everywhere you look.
It's so beautiful.
And like I said, I've been there, I've walked around and picked this up, and it's granite. It's granite that is wood. No, wait,
It's great.
it's wood that is granite. Because you would think you're looking at a wood pile until
That's
you
right.
go and instead of this being 10 pounds, it's 150. Right. And it's just incredible. But this is the stuff that you don't want to pick up right here.
Mm-mm.
Just put that in the back seat of the car, some chunk that you can pick up with your bare hands. But look at that, the petrified forest. How about these dudes up here? Look at this,
And
right?
those look ginormous and incredibly heavy.
And balanced on the
Yeah,
sediment below it.
that is pretty awesome.
Now, okay, so now let's address. Let me stop this. Let me pull that
Oh,
out. Okay, one of the reasons why the petrified forest is so cool is that um, uh, skulls, bones, to get to that point, it's rare. So many things have to happen correctly in order to something to get fossilized. And
correct.
so when we talk about skulls, Homo erectus, and why don't we have more of these dinosaur bones and everything else? Because for the most part, it just breaks down, turns into dust, and fertilizes the soil. To be honest with you, that's what happens. So for something to be fossilized, where a skull is fossilized or bones, you have to have this living creature, whether it's a dinosaur, a deer, a monkey, a human, the right place at the right time, has to die. And then has to be it's usually by a river. That can happen later, but you almost immediately have to be encased in mud, right? And this process has to start and take place. That's why fossils, like real fossils, are rare, which makes this petrified forest so extraordinary. Imagine if we were looking at dinosaur bones, right? Just piles of, just miles of dinosaur. How great and fantastic that would be, and what that would do for research and everything else. Those bones, human, whatever, a femur, a skull, it's rare. It's a rare process. And to have this happen like it did in Arizona, that goes on forever, it's unbelievable. And it's unbelievable to visit. And that's why it's such a special place, hence the curse. But
Hence, you don't want to take anything, no matter how beautiful it is.
that's right.
Mark, thank you so much for the super sticker. Jimmy, please do the honors saying his
Oh,
last name.
Tasaka. I want a puppet. I'm going to get a Jimmy puppet. And he's going to go, Tasaka.
Please do. That sounds fantastic. And Esmeralda says, isn't that similar to what they say about taking volcanic rock from Hawaii?
It
Yes,
is.
it's very similar.
100% the
So
same. Yes.
good eye, good eye. So with this, there's quite a few letters that are publicly available, and I'm going to share that website with you. But before we do so, I'm going to read you just a short one that came from Legends of America. And it says in one letter, it's very short. It says, take these miserable rocks and put them back. They have caused pure havoc in my love life. And another letter says, my life has been totally destroyed since we've been back from vacation. Please put these back so my life can get back to normal. Let me start over again. Here is one of them that I actually saved before we get into the website. This one's written back in the 1980s, and she is pretty much blaming her husband for taking a rock,
Ah,
and she is returning it, stating that upon returning home, we first found out that my stepmother had kidney failure, then our dog died, our central air conditioning went out and our freezer, and I had a very close call in having a bad auto accident. Our truck broke down, needing major repairs. Our cat was killed, and last night, close by our home, a gas well blew out a cap, causing us to be evacuated from our home a while. And that is a lot happening in a very short time. But here's my question. There are tons of letters like this. And again, I'm going to show these to you. But my question is, how are all of these people coming up with the conclusion that their bad luck is caused because of this petrified wood? Why couldn't it just be like a mere coincidence?
right.
That's
Right.
my question.
No, well, that's because it's not. And I am glad. No, I am glad that somebody is aware enough to, you know, figure it out. And this, I am only 5 years old and made a bad mistake.
I know, bless. It's such cute little handwriting.
What's this one say? That's good.
Hold on, this one's in French. Let me skip over, and then this cursive is kind of difficult, but it's from 1979.
I feel very badly about what I have done. The petrified forest. I took the rocks. I realize now I am back home and how foolish it was to do. I have no need for rocks at home, despite their. It looks like we're missing part of it. Okay.
Yeah, seems like it.
All right. I'm happy to return the rock specimens to you. There is I
Snaked on
snaked
these 3 years ago. Very bad luck when they took out the rock, but he even taped it.
And it just reminds me of that. There was an episode of the Brady Bunch. It was like a week. It was part 1, part 2, part 3. They go to Hawaii for a vacation, and they take out of a cave a sacred necklace with
Oh no.
and man, that's the next thing you know, right? And it's just a string of bad luck, and you got to take it back to the cave and stop this stuff. Yeah. So the petrified forest, and most people don't you hear about the petrified forest. I know that I think there was a movie that came out called The Petrified Forest that I might have seen it at some point. And we hear about it. It's a great name, right? The Petrified Forest. It's got this thing to it, and it's totally majestic. But most people don't know what it looks like and why the temptation is there. You've got to avoid the temptation, and that's it. And that's part of it, right? That it is so beautiful. It's almost like it's done intentionally. right? How can you help yourself? You can't
It's
help
difficult.
yourself from a slice of chocolate cake.
Oh, if it's, like, sitting right there on
You can't
on a
help
table, yeah,
yourself.
you're gonna eat one without a doubt. There's no question, no hesitation there.
Yeah.
So, to do this with these rocks, it's gonna be very difficult for most people to resist that temptation, but there are some other things, some other consequences that come when you take these pieces of rock away, they'd be rocks today, and that would include not being able to find a job, getting a divorce, feeling an overwhelming amount of dread and negative mental states at all times as well. And along with a few other things like we had just read, just incredibly bad luck left, right, and center. So these park rangers just have piles and piles and piles of a note and the rock attached to it saying, please put this rock where it belongs because I can't deal with any more bad luck. Now, there is actually a Navajo lore to this. And I'm going to read that to you, which could be a possible explanation to why there's such horrible bad luck. So today, the local Navajo referred to a piece of petrified wood as the Yetbitsin. Traditionally, they are believed to be the bones of the Yetsu, the largest, most powerful, and most feared of the alien gods. Yetsu's father was a stone, so his body was covered with bits of shale and flint. And he met his death at the hands of two legendary hero twins. Letsu's bones were scattered, and some landed in the area now known as the Petrified Forest. So, according to the Navajo, the bones of Yetsu are sacred. Unfortunately, tourists have long been unaware of this. So, if you remove those sacred stones or sacred bones from its location, yes, you're going to receive rather bad luck. And other than that, there wasn't really another explanation for why this was happening. There have been a little bit of research done on the possibilities of it, but no one's come up with a plausible conclusion on why that is the case.
Hmm.
But it blew my mind. I was very new to this information. I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, this is the coolest thing ever.
I agree. And it's called respect, man.
That's what it's all
It's
about.
it's just called respect, and it's just too tempting. I used to make jokes, and the people who come back from Egypt, and I'll go, so what'd you take? Right? You took something. You could just tell me, right? Show me. And I used to, kind of joke when I would watch the reaction from different, because I have friends that go to Egypt all the time or Mexico, and they're at these sacred sites, and you are walking on stuff. If you
Mhm.
look down and you can see pottery shards, and things that, it's thousands of years old, but you respect the environment. I used to crack a joke. Now I would see in reaction from people who
But they
did.
get nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. Who did. And that's it. I mean, I'm going to leave it right there because there's potentially people listening to this show that went through that experience with me, and I'm not going to say anything else. But what do you do? I'm going to be in Egypt in October.
That's
Christina,
right.
I'm going to be in Egypt in October. I look down and I see, a piece of pottery with some painting on it, some Egyptian, right, right. Do I put that in my pocket?
Best
Do-
not to.
and that's the temptation of the petrified forest. You know,
Mhm.
and nobody's going to miss it. Look, there's a whole mountainside of it. Yeah, nobody's. I'll just
No
take
one's
this
gonna
and
notice, except
yeah.
you will notice, and you're gonna get that bad luck. And so let's move on to the next one. And you can't talk about Arizona without mentioning Sedona, Arizona. Here is one picture of what Sedona looks like. Let
Incredible.
me Let me pull up another one. Here's a prettier one. And this is, one of the most popular destinations in the state of Arizona is the town of Sedona, which over the years has accrued a reputation as quite the mecca for New Agers and paranormal researchers from all over the country, along with UFO researchers as well. And so, Arizona, and in particular, this area is rather known for its high concentration of UFO sightings
Mhm.
and for the mysterious energy vortexes said to dot the landscape all throughout Sedona, where earth energies crackle and which are believed to confer all manners of health benefits, as well as said to aid in meditation and self reflection. This is
Yeah.
what people claim when they walk through and around Sedona. But, like I had mentioned just a little while ago, there's quite a few UFO sightings here. And we're going to kind of lead into that a little. So, a few other things that really fascinate me. But let's kind of talk about Sedona here, because it is just a major UFO hotspot, and that's what really fascinates me. So the first sighting actually happened in 1947. And I wasn't aware of this, but this information was written by Nick Redfern when he wrote an article for Mysterious Universe.
Mhm.
And it states that the details of which this sighting happened can be found through the FOIA report that is classified under Flying Disc, Sedona, Arizona, August 17th, 1947. However, the witness name has been redacted. All we know was that he was a former Second World War pilot who, after 1945, moved from Texas to Sedona for secured employment nearby Prescott, which is very close to Sedona. So it states, quote, Mr. Blank believes the light of his vehicle attracted the flying discs to his whereabouts. And again, this was reported in the FBI in its 3-page report on the affair. So within seconds, the strange object was directly over the car at a height of no more than about 50 feet. And it was at this point that the engine suddenly died and the headlights were extinguished. That's a pretty common theme. That's a very common thing.
Mhm.
And this was just around the time of Roswell. Okay. So we are kind of working around this time frame where people just still weren't too familiar with UFO sightings, alien crashes, and things like this. So the fact that he is stating this without probably any prior knowledge is pretty fascinating. So I'm going to take down this picture, but to continue with the story, he says that this craft was very large and it had a spinning top. And the man told the authorities that as he gazed upwards, utterly awestruck, he suddenly developed the distant thought that the craft was flown by men from space who are watching us now, since there is an atomic bomb.
Mhm.
What do you think about that story?
Sedona and UFOs go together like British shortbread cookies and coffee. It's just the way that it is. Now, everybody knows I was just in Sedona last month. And man, hang on. Sometimes you just got that cotton mouth, right?
Mhm.
And so we arrive Friday. We go out Friday night to go out sky watching, and I see 100 things in like 30 minutes. And it was extraordinary to see. And then I find out a pretty amazing fact about Sedona. Now it's beautiful. I mean, it's stunning. It's crazy. And you hear about, and we all see beautiful things, and you hear about Sedona, and so your expectations are way high.
Right,
Then you
right.
get there, and then you find out that holy crap, it's way up here because it's surrounded by desert. It's like this little oasis it's bizarre to me. You come down, whether you're coming from the south or I came from the west, and you're in the middle of the desert, and all of a sudden, this color and the magic, it's amazing. Anyway, so I find this out. Bashar, there's do you have an image of Bell Mountain there that
I can
you
pull it up?
Okay, so I'm pulling into town, and my guide says that's Bell Mountain, and you can see it's shaped like a bell, and it's pretty incredible. And you can see there's a lot of people that are parked below. It's friggin' big, It's like there it is. And so when you pull into Sedona, you drive right next to this. I mean, the road. Can you back out just a little bit so you can see the bottom? Yeah, there's parking, and there's a lot of tour. You can see people around this, and the road. I don't know what side this is, but let's say to the left, everybody, the road going into town is like right there. So you drive past this and see it. And it's right in the middle of Sedona, but then people are all talking about it, and you can understand why. But then I was told that Bashar, right, Daralenka, Bashar, that is channeled by Daralenka, says when ET comes back, he's coming back to Bell Mountain, and the craft is going to descend above Bell Mountain. And that's Sedona. So when, like I said, and back to your point, there are lots of sightings and lots of contact, and there's reasons for it. Certainly it's beautiful, but it's the stone, it's the geography and everything else. There has to be something going on underneath Sedona, and there's a huge attraction there. I get all of it, but you put it all together with the sightings and everything else, and Bashar says it's Bell Mountain right there, downtown Sedona, man. It is the town of Sedona, the homes and the shopping. It's all right. Bell Mountain's right there.
And it's only a population of about 10,000 people as well. It's a very small location, but it's just surrounded by such beauty, and again, so many UFO sightings, to the point that there's actually multiple UFO tours where people will take you out into the middle of nowhere and look for UFOs.
And you will see something. Okay, I know we got to take a break, so we'll get that in. We're there, and we're on top. We're looking over downtown Sedona. We're at the airport, which sits on top of this mountain, and we're there. And 5 minutes, and this low saucer-shaped craft comes from behind us, and I looked, and there it was, and it just went across at an angle, low, and it just took its time, slow. And I watched it just go and over the trees. It took about a minute, but it was one of the most incredible sightings I've ever had in my life. This wasn't night vision, looking out. No, we just got there, and I was just kind of looking around and getting ready, and this thing just flew right over us. Saucer.
Wow.
White. Yeah, it was crazy. So much fun. Okay.
Well, there's so much more to cover, but we're coming towards a break. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, I'm Micah Hanks, and let me tell you something. I support Cristina Gomez as a Patreon subscriber, and here's why you should too. She brings all of her unique insights to a whole new generation, and all while she's also going through college. Listen, support Cristina. Become a Patreon subscriber today. You won't regret it.
Hey there, it's Cristina. Did you know you can get access to an exclusive extra segment of additional questions and answers with all of my guests, as well as behind-the-scene videos and photos? Ever wonder how I turn my small college dorm apartment into a studio where I can shoot new videos or set up lighting and backdrops for my show, or what camera I use? Yep, that video is there too, where I explain as I go along and also give the story of how I learned to do special video effects and editing. You can get access to all of that and much more by joining my Patreon supporters club. You'll be helping by supporting this channel, my research, and production costs, as well as investing in new shows coming soon. Starting from as little as $5 a month, there are several tiers you can choose from that suit your budget, and each tier carries extra perks and benefits. Join my Patreon club and become a supporter today. So, talking about Sedona is just really leading in to, I think, one of my favorite things to cover when mentioning Sedona, and that is Bradshaw Ranch. How many of you have heard of Bradshaw Ranch? Well, if you haven't, it's very similar to Skinwalker Ranch in many respects, and we're going to get into detail on that. So, it was in 1945 that a Hollywood stuntman and actor by the name of Bob Bradshaw moved into the area and bought the plot of land. He originally created this piece of land to do Western films and make it a photography shop. But it wasn't until the 1990s when Bradshaw's son, John Bradshaw, turned the land into a more functional and actual working ranch. There, it became popular as a recreation spot for camping, horseback riding, and other outdoor activities. But it wasn't until about 1992 when it began getting pretty weird. Jimmy, we're talking about Bradshaw Ranch. I'm just now getting into it.
Sure.
So it supposedly began with John Bradshaw's wife, Linda, who claimed to begin seeing mysterious orbs of light in the sky over the ranch, as well as sudden bright flashes with no cause and no and just striking very like mysterious lights. And this perhaps had to be expected due to the fact that they were kind of in the middle of a big UFO hotspot right in this Sedona area, which is believed to be very close to Bell Rock that Jimmy had mentioned just a little bit earlier. But it started to get a lot weirder to the point where Linda started documenting exactly what she was seeing after about 1992. So from there, you're getting these orbs, you're getting these weird lights in the sky. But then she claimed that they were just these weird shooting beams of light on the property. And then she was beginning to see shadow people and other entities. And her son would also claim to have had a rather far out encounter with actual aliens on the property, which she would see outside of her window one evening and described thus. And this is described in the Emerging Dimensions book written by Tom Dongo, who is one of the more renowned researchers that researched specifically Bradshaw Ranch. And it says, strolling past the window were 4 short-statured aliens wearing tight-fitting one-piece uniforms of a light tan color. They were what are typically called the Zeta Reticuli, also known as the Greys, only these appear to be a bit more ash-colored, almost white. Once the beings were out of sight and the witnesses recomposed themselves, right, the mother and the son, the 3 of them jumped into their car and sped to the house where I was sleeping. I remember so vividly how my son vigorously shook my arm to wake me up. And I could hear the tremor in his voice, and he said, Mom, wake up. They're here. I raised up and said, Who's here? He explained, The aliens, Mom. And it just gets a lot more weird. And there's a lot of details in the book.
It does. I one of my favorite shows I did just a couple of months ago with Tom Dongo, and which was right before my trip to Sedona, and my intentions were to go to Bradshaw Ranch, and there were reasons why I didn't go. I wanted to go. What I found out was it's a pretty treacherous 2-track road. And also there's a lot of I don't want to use the wrong terminology here, but there's a lot of there's a homeless encampment up there too as well, and so there's a lot of associated riffraff, and I didn't want to go up there in the middle of the night in my Jeep and deal with all of this stuff, and it was many hours, so I didn't make it to Bradshaw. But let's back up. Bradshaw himself, they had an orchard there, and he's got a ranch. He's taking care of his ranch. He was out on the grounds and came up over this hill, sees a flying saucer, sees a craft, and sees the craft descend down below this ridge into the orchard area. He walks over, gets to the top of the hill, and he's looking down on a flying saucer that had landed in his orchard. He was so traumatized by this event that he went home, went inside of his house, and never came back out.
My goodness.
Yeah, he never came out of his house again. And he lived on a ranch, a ranch
like you have to go out.
that you have to take care of. And he left that to his wife and everybody else. And that was a real event. And so you have to ask yourself, there is a lot of high strangeness associated with Bradshaw. And I've had many conversations with people that have gone out there and stood and watched things happen. Lots of photographs. It's very strange, but I would say that 99% of everything at Bradshaw has nothing to do with the sky. It has everything to do with the ground.
And we're going to get into that.
Yeah, and paranormal activity. Get started on that. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Army Nation, thank you so much for a small bowl of ramen. Oh, that it's going to go straight to ramen. That sounds so awesome. I kind of want some right now. So, talking about Bradshaw, there is a 3.5-hour documentary that was released in April all about the ranch called the Hoodoo Tall. But what gets me is that this ranch is like a carbon copy of Skinwalker Ranch and even has had government ownership at one point. And we're going to get into that. But Jimmy brought up a really good point, and that is a lot of the phenomena that is happening on the ranch that has been documented is not really happening in the sky, but on the ground. So going back to Linda's encounters, which she did help write the book Merging Dimensions with Tom Dongo. And not only did she see orbs and flashing lights and some things in the sky and even aliens, as she mentioned, but she even saw a hairy Bigfoot-like creature on the property that she saw frequently, to the point that Linda ended up nicknaming this Bigfoot called Big Girl. And even stranger than these sightings were accounts of spotting what were described as actual dinosaurs on the ranch, with Linda herself claiming one time to have seen a 5-foot-tall bipedal lizard with a long tail standing on a dirt path one evening. I actually made a TikTok on Bradshaw Ranch talking about this in particular, all the weird things that have been seen, and talking about this 5-foot tall bipedal lizard. It sounds very much like a dinosaur. It really does. And unfortunately, most people have never seen one, except maybe for Linda and let's say a few other people that I might have been in that vicinity. But it's pretty incredible. And the book with her experiences was written in 1995, so just about 3 years after, around her first encounter. And during this time between the 90s into like maybe around 2000, 2001, it was open. If you were able to speak to the Bradshaw family, you were able to enter and conduct your own research. So there was quite a few paranormal investigators, UFO investigators. They were able to enter the ranch with permission. However, in May of 2003, The mystery was deepened and conspiracy theories were spawned when the U.S. military suddenly and without explanation purchased the ranch and quickly had it locked off from the rest of the world. So locals claimed that there were frequently military personnel seen around the area, in addition to the signs keeping people out were also armed guards had to patrol the area and turn people away in an uncertain term. So if that's not saying that
Yep.
there are some interesting people there, I don't know what is. I
The
don't know what is.
when I found out that the land now is I think it's owned by the isn't it U of A, University of Arizona. I think now officially has taken control of it, which is interesting right there in of itself. And they are allegedly interested in the fauna and the way that plants grow there. Now, isn't that, it's just like,
Well, it is owned by the Bureau of Land Management and leased to the University of Arizona.
that's right. Isn't that interesting? There's a lot of land in Arizona.
There's
Why
a
the
lot of land,
Bradshaw Ranch,
and a lot of it's
under
inhabited.
government control?
Right, exactly. And that's why there's so many questions, but why it fascinates me so much about Bradshaw Ranch, because it's just less known compared to Skinwalker. But look, if they're ready to have a TV show, I'd watch it.
Yeah,
Like, no question there.
I know. I want to go to Bradshaw so bad.
Well,
And
it even has a lot of security cameras around it as well. I mean, even today from
why don't
accounts.
we do a field trip? Why don't
All
we
right.
get
I'll
people
bring the
together?
snacks.
I'm being see these
I
things.
will bring the snacks.
You
And then,
can't-
look, there's even people stating that they've seen like people in white lab coats on the land as well. So you're seeing security cameras, you're seeing signs of keep out. You're seeing military officials, and you're seeing military officials with armed with guns. You're having all of this in just one pretty concentrated area. To
Yes.
not even Skinwalker Range wasn't even like that when it was owned, to my knowledge. To the extent of how Bradshaw is today from alleged accounts, to the point where there's a more recent encounter. So in 2013, there was a very strange experience when Discovery Channel was filming Uncovering Aliens, a TV show Uncovering Aliens. And according to the report, at some point, a man named Stephen Jones wandered away from the crew and into the actual property of the ranch. When he returned about half an hour later, he was apparently in a daze, and he claimed that he had heard disembodied voices all around him, that he had missing time, and making it all the more bizarre was that his watch had repeatedly stopped working.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point where it ended up not even being in the episode because it was so weird.
Yeah, Tom Dongo was there, and Tom Dongo talked about this entire episode of that afternoon on Fade to Black. And yeah, Tom said it was very, very, very strange. And that, I don't want to put words in Tom's mouth, but Tom said that this crew member was changed, that he had a certain attitude about him before this event. And I think he like went to the bathroom or something, right? There was a spot up behind these trees, and you're at this, there isn't any place I think that's what was going on, and that's when this episode happened. And he said he was so disoriented after that, and just was a different person. And Dongo was there, and yeah, he witnessed it. And you're also right; it didn't make it into the show. That it was very disturbing, and this crew member was very very messed up after, and nobody really knows what happened up there in the trees.
And that's so unfortunate that there weren't cameras with him to record it, if that
Right.
was the case, or if it could.
Right.
I wish it was in an episode. That would have been amazing. I mean, horrible for poor Mr. Jones, but I think it'll be great to keep people informed on the situation. And while we're on the conversation of cryptids and weird sightings, have you ever heard of the Mogollon Monster?
Yeah, let's talk about that. And there's let's go straight there. I'm looking at the clock. There's a couple of other things that I want to squeeze in here too as well. So the Mogollon Monster. What is it?
Well, it is the Arizonan Bigfoot. And I'm pulling up a picture now. Here is a carving
Yep.
of it, and it's called the Mogollon Monster because there are sightings along the Mogollon Rim, and I'm going to share exactly where that is for people that may not know, but sharing screen takes so long. Okay, here we go. So here is the Mogollon Rim between or around Williams, Flagstaff, Payson, and pretty far from Phoenix. And then here is Prescott to kind of give you a gauge of where this is. So this is where a certain type of Bigfoot is seen, and it's believed to be about 7 feet tall, has kind of brown reddish hair, and is very vicious towards people that encounter him.
This area, and keep this up on the screen because there's a lot of interesting things to talk about here. Now, I keep talking about the contrast of the desert and Flagstaff and Sedona, which you can see there. But and here where you see some of this is forest and it's heavy forest.
Mhm.
Some of it is high desert brush, and you're not seeing it accurately here, but you have these unbelievable contrasts. But what you have is this rim where you have a peak of mountains, and it's called a rim, and then you have the backside of it. And so this rim, which stretches from Williams and Flagstaff all the way down to Clifton, and you can see where Phoenix is. This is a long, long stretch of mountain peaks
Mhm.
and the changes of elevation
Yeah.
where the rim is. And that's where the Mogollon monster, as they call it, lives along this rim and ridge, and it's a big stretch of land. Now, the other part to this is you see Payson here, and you see Show Low, and these famous Alpine and Clifton. These are very, very small communities. This area here, for the most part, is wide open land with no civilization and no people. And if you're going to be a Bigfoot type creature, you're going to be some type of cryptid in Arizona, that's one of the spots that you would hang out. There's nobody there.
Yes, and with this monster, it has been seen in the same area as Travis Walton's abduction in Snowflake, and all the way through Flagstaff, like you had just mentioned. And all of this is heavily forested areas on a very, very high elevation. So it's easier for this type of Bigfoot to hide compared to this desert area that's merely just brush. And also, as Esmeralda says, like, why would you want to have such a thick fur coat in extremely hot weathers? I mean, it would be insane.
It's both, though. And so, Esmeralda, trust me, it snows. It snows.
It does up here, but around the Phoenix area, it does not.
Phoenix, I'm not talking about Phoenix, but where the Mogollon monsters hanging out, man, they got great ski season. I mean, it gets absolute. I was just in Sedona, and I was just in Sedona last month with snow. There was snow, not in Sedona, but 5 miles away where I was. 5 miles, right? I forget the name of the little town I was in. But our cabin that we rented literally was surrounded with snow. It was strange. Go from LA, 80 degrees, drive a couple hours and you pull into town and it's snow covered, and then Sedona itself didn't. And that's the contrast that you have in these areas.
Yeah, I heard it's beautiful, but to just kind of transferring between desert into forest. Rock Chat, thank you so much for the super sticker. And when doing research for this, I've actually never heard of this type of Bigfoot. I thought that just across the United States, it kind of had somewhat of the same name, except for, in Florida, you got the skunk ape. But this one in particular, I was pretty taken aback of really not knowing too much about it. And there's quite a few encounters as well. And
Mhm.
it's believed that this Bigfoot in particular likes to build nests and other structures out of trees, logs, pine needles, twigs, and leaves. But that this one also likes to hurl big rocks as well as tossing stones, pine cones, twigs from locations that they are hiding to catch your attention, catch the camper's attention or hiker's attention as well. But what's very interesting about this one, and I'm really not too familiar with the Bigfoot research. So this one kind of I found rather interesting. And that was before people encounter this Bigfoot in Arizona, they state that right before they see it, they encounter this very eerie silence. And the silence is best described as an unnatural stillness or absence of any sound, almost like time stops in the woods that often surrounds predatory animals in the vicinity.
Right.
So that, I mean, I think I would be pretty mortified because when you're in a forest, right? If you're just walking or doing whatever, it's so noisy. You got the bugs, you got the birds, you got the wind, you have absolutely everything going for you. So if it's completely quiet, yeah, you're going to have the hairs in the back of your neck totally stand up.
Sure,
Without a
sure.
doubt.
Bigfoot, Sasquatch, depending on even Yeti, depending on where you are in the world, you've got your own history with this type of creature with its own name. And they all act, just a little bit different. But by and large, you don't really hear about Sasquatch and Bigfoot. You hear the stories, that stand out about some crazy, violent, negative things that happen. But for the most part, Bigfoot's been pretty cool, right? Sasquatch has been pretty cool. The Mogollon Monster, its reputation, it's nasty, it's mean. You look at the images of it; it's always, it's got a totally different reputation, and that's what's interesting about the Mogollon Monster. Also, you can go and jump in and do some research on it, but it is such a part of the local culture that they even have the Mogollon Monster 100-mile endurance race. Right. So you can go and you can run for 100 miles through the Mogollon Rim. Great race, but look at the logo. Right. And it's really funny that this breed of Bigfoot is not the kinder, gentler Sasquatch. It's got a reputation of being pretty nasty and something you don't want to trifle with. You just want to leave this guy alone.
And another place that can be considered rather nasty or disturbing, or maybe even a little bit scary, would be Jerome, Arizona. And this is a ghost town very close to Sedona. And I'm going to pull up a picture of what it looks like. This, again, is a ghost town. The population is very, very minimal, but it was once a mining town in the late 1800s, and it was booming. First, it was for silver, and then later for gold. So the population just spiked up from about 500 to 14,000 in just 30 years because everyone was really wanting to strike gold in this area. So why is this place haunted? Jimmy, do you want to answer that?
Well, okay. There's so many great stories. I've had many guests talking about Jerome, Arizona. I've talked to a few different ghost hunting investigation crews that have been to Jerome, and I've seen a couple of documentaries. It's one of the most fascinating places, and it definitely, there you go, right there. Go back. That place is frigging haunted. Hotel Connor. That's the Connor, right?
Yeah, it is.
And I can't see. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. That place right there, man. So anyway, I'm all excited. I love Jerome, and that the gentleman that originally founded the city, okay, the town. This place went from nothing
Mm-hmm.
to to big time money. I mean,
yeah.
big time. And it was not only the place to be, but it was a hip place to be. It was a place to make money, but it was also families were living there. Big houses were being built. There was some vacation stuff tied with it. Also, a lot of wealth, lots of parties. It was Jerome, Arizona, was the place to be. And then, bam, the bottom got pulled out of it, and so you have a collection of abandoned mansions, these beautiful homes built of stone and brick, and the amount of money that you take to invest into building something, because you had to import everything, you had to bring it in. Anyway, all of that is abandoned. And then you have the ghost stories and the paranormal stories and what went down at the Hotel Connor. I'll swing that over to you, and you can get to specifics. But that is one of the most haunted places in America, man. And it's not, it's not the OK Corral. People think about these other, these other ghost towns and these other examples of this. Jerome is there, and you can visit it, you can stay there, and it's incredible. It's a beautiful place, and it is completely haunted.
And like you said, Jimmy, during the time when it was booming, it was the town to be a part of. It had everything from saloons, restaurants, hotels, an opera house, and of course, multiple brothels as well. And when you're getting all these types of people, it began to get a pretty bad reputation, and crime increased as more gangs and gamblers started to infiltrate the city, to the point where it was called the wickedest city in the West by a newspaper written at the time. So, when we look at any haunted place, the reason to why it is haunted, at least allegedly, is because a lot of death has happened there, a lot of unfortunate or sometimes even unjustified death. And here, people were dying left, right, and center due to gunfights. They were stabbed, they were beaten, they were strangled, they were overdosing on opium, and some even committed suicide during this time. So of course, if you look at it now, it's going to seem pretty haunted, but in 1953, that's kind of where it really died out, which really wasn't too long ago. And all the mines, like the last mines were shut down in 1953, to the point where there were only 50 people remaining in Jerome, Arizona. But then in 1970, it got a second chance, and now it has a population of about 500, which is still incredibly low. But there are some real stories, rather recent stories, of people having their own encounters. And while I was doing research on the website called Only in Your State, someone ended up writing a piece below that article. And let me pull it up for you. Okay, so here it says, I spent a night in the hotel in Jerome. I will never go back. The evening started with sounds of a deep fingernails scratching the door and the sounds of keys going in and out of a lock, and there was no keyhole. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of heavy breathing, and woke up to the sound of the TV being lifted and the TV was not moved at all when he checked. But the sounds of electronics being lifted is very distinct. He again woke up to the sound of a cart or a gurney going down the hall.
Right.
But here's the thing, that hall was carpeted. When I finally decided to leave at 5 a.m., my radio station, which is normally tuned to 107.9, was at 56.1. I then turned it to 95.5, and then it was changed to 73.5. That's pretty bizarre.
Here's the thing about Jerome. I didn't know the population was that low today, 500. But at one point, it was a big place, and it was the place, and it attracted every element of society there. But it was so big, they had an insane asylum. They had a state hospital there, and it was a big one. And it's still there now. Well, I mean, there's nobody in it alive, right? But this town is all completely haunted. The entire town is haunted, and it's the hotels, it's the saloons, it's the houses, the homes, the insane asylum sitting up on the hill. I'm just going to grab this, and let me give this a name. I'll just call it Jerome so we can pull it up. But when you have something like this available to you as a ghost hunter, okay, what have I got to do again? I'm supposed to be the expert now, right? Okay, here we go. There we go. Bust a move on that. That's it right here. Sitting up on the hill today. Now, take a good gander at that. That's an insane asylum.
It's so big, too.
It's huge. It's huge. And it's right there. So this is Jerome. There it is, right? The Connor. Look at this old school here. Book your stay now. The Connor Hotel. Thank you for that, Zenzabil. That's why I was wondering about the 500 people thing. It seems like a low number, but lots to do. And book your stay now and head up the hill and go to the local insane asylum.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Well, there are a few other places that are rather haunted there. One of them being the Mile High Inn.
Yes. I've talked to people that have been to the Mile High Inn.
No way.
And one of the doors there, I thought it might have been the previous note. There's a door there. I've seen the pictures of it. It's got scratches on the outside of the door of somebody trying to get in. No, I love this stuff. I really do.
Here's a picture of how the inn looks today. But yeah, there's quite a few haunted stories, and it's believed that there are quite a few dead residents that stay there on a constant basis. And I'm going to read some of those to you. I just need to find it exactly. So one of the main stars to this hotel is Jenny Barters, and she was probably one of the richest females in northern Arizona during this time in the late 1800s. She owned a brothel, and then she actually was murdered. So here, when she had moved from one location to the other, where this location is now the High Miles Inn, she is with not only a dead cat, but two other residents as well that are in this hotel.
Right.
Which, I mean, the cat really got me. And I'm could you imagine just a ghost cat? I can't. But this cat in particular, it rubs against people's legs. Okay. And some people can hear it meowing. Some people can hear it sharpening its claws as well. But the one that it just bothers me the most that you're able to feel this cat on your legs if it brushes up against you, but you can't see anything. Like
Mm,
I'd want to pet the cat,
I'd
the
rather
ghost
see
cat.
I'd rather see the ghost of the dead pirate Roberts. Uh, dead cat rubbing against you.
Mm.
Yeah, that's creepy town right there. That's taking the first bus to creepy town. No, I'm
It
being
is.
serious. No, I'm being
No, it is.
serious.
It is terrifying, but also like pretty insane. And a lot of ghost stories and a lot of ghost hunting TV shows, they usually talk about people, but talking about animals is rather rare. So the fact that multiple people have witnessed a
Right,
dead cat, a
right,
ghost cat,
right,
is pretty phenomenal. There's
right.
also a young man who isn't so friendly compared to the cat and to Jenny, and it loves to startle the guests and staff alike. And although he doesn't hurt anyone, he allegedly loves to blow cold winds through guest rooms and has been known to appear as a shadow figure in the Victorian Rose Room as well as in the restaurant. And the hazy figure is seen wearing a grumpy look of disapproval on his face.
Well, let me ask you. As we're at the end of the show, but would you go on an investigation? Would you go into now? Listen, these investigations, they have their protocol. So before you answer yes or no, or before you answer yes, you're in total darkness. You know this, right?
Right.
They lock the door behind you. You don't want people coming in, and you also don't want noises. You need to know that you're the only one there. Okay? In the darkness. And now you've got the other investigators, right? But everybody is intentionally being very, very quiet because you want to hear things, and you will. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. A real investigation, like at that insane asylum in Jerome. Would you do it? Would you go?
Oh yeah, I would go. If we don't take risks, life wouldn't be worth living. But looking into this, being
What's a risk? Now, hold on. What's a risk? Like a physical
well,
risk of
things that would
injury?
make you feel uncomfortable or those that would raise fear or anxiety inside of you. If we're able to broaden up our comfort zone, right, then we'll never have one. Then things won't scare us in the future. So doing a paranormal investigation or a UFO investigation or any kind of investigation, I think it's worth going at least once. And if you don't like it from there, well, that's your decision. But you need to take that first step to decide if you want to continue doing that or not. And because I've never been on a professional ghost investigation, I simply can't say how I would react. But at this point in time, I think it would be fantastic to join one.
Yeah, when you're out in the woods, you're chasing Bigfoot. Okay, all right, you can see. You're out sky watching. You're looking for UFOs. You can still see. Right? You can still see. When you are doing a real ghost investigation, the lights are off. You don't see this, and the eerie quiet because it's quiet and you're recording there's a whole nother thing there, and it's scary from the word go. Now, what I wouldn't do, okay, Jimmy, um, I know this is an old castle. What we need you to do is crawl through that tunnel for 100 yards, and then you're going to come into a dungeon. We're going to be in touch with you on the radio, but we need you to crawl on your belly in the dark for 100. No, I'm not. And so that part of it, that's dangerous, and it's also scary to me. And I would never do that. And I wouldn't do anything that would put me physically, into jeopardy. And I'm not going to lock myself in solitary confinement in a solid iron chamber for the night with the door locked. No, it's not simply not going to happen. It's that part's not going to go down. But yeah, so I'm encouraged by this, that you would be willing to go and do that, because and unless you try it, you never have the experience.
That's correct.
And it's a lot of fun. It really is. And you never know what could happen. You just don't.
You never know, but dealing with crawling in a very confined space, and if, let's say, something comes chasing at you and you don't have enough time to go back, yeah, no, I don't think I would do that either. I don't think I would be in a small confined tunnel
No
willingly.
reason to roll the dice if you don't have to. there's just, you can go, we can FaceTime, you go check it out. I'm going to stay right here with the catering table and the rest of the sound
and the
crew.
snacks. I mean, look, you always got to bring snacks with you, because who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll get really hungry one day or at one point in time. But those in the live chat, if you were given the opportunity to go on a ghost hunt or a ghost investigation, would you go? And for those that have already been on one, would you do another one? And how was your experience? Because, like I said, I've never been on a professional one before. Jimmy, you were kind of alluding to the fact that you have.
I have.
So,
I've been on a few. Yeah.
So my question is this, Jimmy, for you. You've done both UFO investigations and paranormal investigations.
I have.
What is something that you enjoyed about the both of them?
When something unexpected happens, you know what I mean? Because every day you shop, you get up, you take a shower, you put on your clothes, you do your thing, whatever it is that you do, you make your coffee, you go through your day, and you're expecting things to just be smooth, and you don't want to have your petrified forest, wooden rock, bad luck thing, and so you go through your day with normal expectations. It's when you go on a sky watch, or you go on a paranormal investigation, and something happens that is completely out of the normal, where your brain immediately starts asking questions. Your brain goes into what, right? You go there. You literally, your brain is trying to figure something out. And that is a tremendous adrenaline rush when that moment happens. It's a lot of fun. And so once you experience that, the total unexpected thing, once you experience that, you can't wait to go and do it again. I can't wait for my next sky watch.
An adrenaline high.
I'm telling you, the first time I saw something move in the sky, and what I wanted to relive that moment, and I have on these investigations. Okay, so on these investigations, I've had extraordinary things happen. I had a door shut one night. We're there. We got the film crew. Everybody's there, and this door, and it's like, what, and your brain goes through this adrenaline,
right, through the motions as well, of trying to rationalize what the heck is going on.
Yeah. Trying to figure it out. And so even here at the house, and I've shared a few things, but when something happens, and it's clearly a sound that isn't normal, it's another thing to see something, but when it's a sound that's not normal, when you know that you're the only person that's here making sounds, right? And you hear something, I love that quick little rush, and that quick little, what was that? And yeah, happens all the time. I love it every time it does happen.
For most people, when I asked, would you go on an investigation, the majority of them said yes. Yes, sure. In a heartbeat. Yes, absolutely. I got a few no's, totally understandable. But for the most part, as Esmeralda says, don't we watch horror movies because we love to be scared? Well, we do love that
You do?
little sense.
Sure.
So, but
Sure, but would you okay, now if you frame this question a little bit differently, would you ghost hunt by yourself? That's a different question.
that is a different
That's
question
a different question.
altogether.
Would you ghost hunt by yourself? Would you squatch by yourself?
Well,
Would
you probably shouldn't do any investigations by yourself because it's simply not safe, or because you're not going to be seeing things that your partner will, right? Because you got to be checking each other's max. So while you might be doing a ghost investigation, you might get into contact with another physical person, and
you
then who knows what could happen. So you always want to have at least one other person with you on any type of investigation, or even if you're camping, eh, at all
true,
times. The
true.
the buddy system.
It wouldn't be what your friends would have seen. It's if you would be seen again. Right?
Right.
That's the point. You don't want to have the last statement about you was, well, he was last seen when he was ghost hunting his home, right? You, you don't want that. He was last seen walking into the woods that way, right?
Yeah, no, thank
No,
you. So
no, he was last seen walking into the Jerome Insane Asylum, never to come out. Yeah, you don't want that. So would you ghost hunt alone? Would you ghost hunt your house? And I bring this up all the time. Would you do a paranormal investigation at your house alone? Walking around with a recorder. Okay, who's in here? To try to pick up EVPs. Would you do that?
well,
Um,
because
I
it
say no.
well, because it feels like it's your property, right? And you know every corner of your own house. I feel like you're playing with a different dynamic. There's really no surprises at the end of the corner compared to maybe if you're in a forest or in an unknown location where you simply don't know what's in if you open a certain door. In your own home, it's a different story. You're able to kind of vibe or know where you're going along with that you live there. So you're able just to kind of sense in your own opinion what a house, at least your house, should feel like. So when it comes to investigating your own home, I feel like that's kind of a given. Like in a sense, you might have to because it is your home.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
and
mhm.
you've had some weird encounters in your house as well. But
Yeah, yeah, and they continue, and I'm not so much comfortable talking about them, and not that it's crazy. It's that it happens so often, and I don't want to come off as the crazy cat lady dude, that's haunted by ghosts, but yeah, it continues. Brian Young just said, I have gone ghost hunting alone. He deleted his previous comment though that said, I go ghost hunting alone, but I carry a sidearm, right? So which makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of want to leave it the way it is. In that, if I bring in a paranormal crew,
right, it's gonna be
then
a different story. But
let's
Jimmy,
investigate.
I
But
I think I think we need to save this whole conversation for another show. We'll do one just strictly on ghosts and paranormal investigations. That way we can get into so much more detail. But today has been all about the mysteries of Arizona, and we covered a lot, and we didn't even get to cover everything today. But we did cover ones that just aren't as familiar as maybe the Phoenix Lights and the Travis Walton
Travis Walt,
abduction
yeah.
and Superstition Mountain and things like that, and the Kingman crash as well, which we did an entire show on, which happened in Arizona. So I think this went really fantastic.
It's a great
Jimmy,
show. Great show.
as always,
I want
thank
you
you
to
so
do.
much.
I just want you to do an investigation tonight. While you are there alone, write the stuff down and shoot some video. And let's see if we get the ghost paranormal cat action happening, and we'll find out. Christina,
Always cats.
thank you so much. Tonight is a fader night. I've got to get out of here, and thank you for ending the show and kicking me out so I can get back to work. And I'll see everybody tonight on Fade to Black. It's fader night, and we'll continue the conversation. Thank you so much, Cristina. Always the best. Thank you.
Bye, Jimmy. And that is it for today's show of Mysteries of Arizona. So, my question is, if you could go to one country or to one state, where would you go just merely based off of the crazy or mysterious stories? Let me know in the comments below because who knows, maybe that'll be the next location that we will cover. I want to wish you all a wonderful week. Please like this video, share, subscribe, hit the bell because tomorrow is Strange Paradigms, where we cover weekly news on everything strange, mysterious, science, advanced tech, and so much more. My guest co host will be Chris Plain, the head science writer for The Debrief. You do not want to miss that. Again, I want to wish you all a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Keep your eyes on the skies.